And that actually makes not only the prospect of dating, but even the prospect of infatuation or any sort of real crush, it makes it really painful for me right now, because I'm not so much worried about rejection. I'm worried about the fact that when I do get rejected, I naturally assume that it's because I'm trans. Um, any other explanation, it doesn't matter how logical that explanation is. I just have a hard time believing it, and it takes a backseat to my overwhelming assumption that nobody wants me because I'm too physically feminine. And it's not their fault, but it is extremely frustrating because dysphoria is painful, and it makes my mind go in all manner of unhappy places. And suddenly I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm this close to trying to pull my breasts off. And it's so ridiculous, because that wouldn't work anyway. But dysphoria doesn't help your intellect, and I remember times that I used to cut myself, and although I haven't done that in many years, I can't see myself doing it again. It's something that I think about a lot when I'm dysphoric, and that's probably the only time that I actually desire that sort of thing, is when I'm looking in the mirror, being incredibly dysphoric, being extremely uncomfortable. Anyway, the worst bout of dysphoria I had was pretty recent, and I'll tell you that story just because it's relevant, and it crushes me to think about it. I had just had a pseudo-argument with my dad because I'd signed up for gender therapy, and he was angry at me for not waiting until April, which is now, by the way, come to think of it. But I'd been waiting for 10 plus years, and I was so happy. I was so happy that things were finally going somewhere. I had a therapist. Things were going to get done. I was going to get my testosterone. Things were going to be great. And now my dad is telling me that I need to learn to quit being so impatient, and I need to learn to wait for things, and I need to learn not to be so rash about things. I was butchering chickens at the time, which is relevant. And he leaves, and I start thinking bad things. And I'm thinking about all the years that I've spent in this squishy, muscle-atrophied female body, bleeding and cramping every month, tumors sprouting out of my chest, and my dad's telling me that I need to learn to be more patient. And I started hyperventilating, which soon turned into crying. And that turned into me being so rough that I wound up slicing my hand open, which calmed me down and did not make a great case for me to continue not cutting myself. Although I didn't, and I'll mention that again. And I'm not going to, just to make you feel better about that. I responded the way I usually do, which was by breaking things. Nothing important, but still, going outside and busting up a bunch of stuff to upset. And I tell this story because there are a lot of people out there who think that people transition just because it's fucking awesome, or because it's popular in certain communities right now, or because we just want to be different, we're dissidents, or because we're autophilic is one of my favorite ones. Like, we are so into our own personal fantasies about having sex with ourselves that we want to be the object of our fantasies. Therefore, those of us who are into guys are like, oh, I love guys so much that I want to fuck myself, and I'm going to go be a guy. And that's ridiculous. And, I mean, there are people who do get into it for reasons similar to that, if not that, but most of those people drop out pretty quickly. And, I mean, this is going to sound so callous, because people transition for a variety of reasons, and not everybody who goes through a lot of these motions is actually interested in transitioning, but quite frankly, most people I meet who are like that grow out of it. And even if they didn't, just marking us all with that one you're just trying to be cool bullshit is just infuriating. But for people like me who do have dysphoria, the reason that we transition has to do with an almost chronic emotional pain that leads us to do some very stupid and very dangerous and very depressing things. Not all trans people have dysphoria, and I don't believe that it should be a requirement for transition, but I do find that assertion that this is something that we're taking lightly and this is something we're being impatient about, and this is something that we are somehow doing anything wrong about. It's just absurd and offensive. And finally, and this totally different subject, just so that I don't get more emotional, which I can feel myself starting to right now. So back to that panel, and this is more bad stuff, kind of, sort of. It's not that bad. Anyway, the bad thing about this panel is that there were people there who were phrasing their questions to us because they wanted us to give the positive side of being queer and nothing negative. She said something, this one particular woman, she's like, we're positive people. Just give us the good things that people have done to help you along. We don't need all of this negativity. And I didn't say this to her, but I just wanted to yell, fuck off. Because when I'm educating you about me, I'm not there to make you feel all warm and fuzzy about yourself. I'm there to tell you about reality. And you know what? The reality is that being trans and being queer can fucking suck a lot of the time. When you're sitting there, we're talking about stuff that happens in class. And how am I supposed to make all of this shit positive? Like, oh yeah, I've had like 10 classes in the past 5 years in which there were LGBT-related chapters in our book that our professors have deliberately skipped over because they said that it was not relevant to anybody. And I'm supposed to make this positive. Why am I supposed to make that positive? Seriously. I don't really care that much that you want to make things better by being positive. The negatives are important too. You need to know what not to do. But anyway, I'm just kidding. I'm frustrating myself. So yeah, there's positive things about being queer and there's positive things about being trans. You're being yourself. It's awesome. It makes you happy. But largely, it's just made me feel like shit. So just give me the positive. Give me a fucking break. Anyway, it's late, I'm getting flustered, and I need to get up early, and I've already spent enough time with this, so I'm gonna go to bed. Happy trails, I'll see you in my next video. No clue what it's gonna be about, but I'm sure that it'll be awesome. Good night.